Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex breaking news update, and today we have full spoilers for the upcoming chapter, which officially drops on the 19th. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get that Sarutobi pack ready because we're getting ready to smoke on that Konohamaru flavored one that, based on the chapter, is definitely looking like it's going to be something that happens very soon. Like usual, this is the monthly reminder that these are the text spoilers for the chapter, but with spoilers, you have to refrain from judging everything solely off the text leaks, because every month, as it's been for the last 7 years now, the leaks do not give you 100% full context, and usually the stuff that people complain about is addressed in the chapter when they sit down and they read it, if they sit down and read it, when it drops officially. As always, as we do on the channel with spoilers, I'll go over the stuff that grabs my interest the most, and for the things I'm waiting to get full context on for the review, I will save it for the review itself, which, depending on when we get all the raw scans, I've seen some but not all of them. The review for the chapter might drop the day of the official release, which is the 19th, or a couple of days afterwards, just depending on how long the chapter review editor needs in order to cook, so that we maintain the quality that you guys have seen for the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter reviews. So with that being said, let's unpack all the stuff we have here that stood out to me personally in these leaks, which, based on what we have, there's a fairly decent amount of text that is not transcribed in the leaks that are detailing what's going on with Jura and Ada. But what we do know, based off of what has been transcribed, is that Ada saying Konohamaru is in enough danger that Boruto has to be stopped by Kashin Koji, because Boruto wants to head to the battlefield to save Konohamaru, and there's a really good reason for it, because Matsuri apparently has Konohamaru cornered, and she's flat out telling the guy that she wants to eat him, saying that it's time for them to finally become one, which there's a dirty joke there to be told, but I'm going to refrain from saying it because I haven't seen the kanji or the hiragana that is on the page to see if there's a double wording in there, because oftentimes there is. So Kashin Koji is telling Boruto that he can't go out there, and he's stopping him, and it makes sense now that we know that Jura is back in that Ten Tails hideout, which means that he is near the cube that the Shinju used to move back and forth between locations, which makes everything happening just outside the Sand Village that much more dangerous because of Kashin Koji's prior warning. He said that if Boruto goes there, then Jura will arrive on the battlefield, and he will, without any question, kill Boruto this time around, meaning that he used 10 directions at some point, and Kashin Koji was able to see this event transpire in one of the possible futures, which makes his warning to Boruto a few chapters ago even more dire, telling him that out of all the pieces they have on the board, Boruto's the one who they can't afford to lose at all. Yet we know that Boruto left a marker behind, and that Mitsuki is in possession of it. God, this has a lot of potential to get messy, because Ikimoto and Kishimoto, they are playing on Boruto's instincts to protect his sensei. This is what I mean when you hear me say that good writers, they know how to use internal conflict and external conflict in a way where the two are related and they build off of each other. Allow me to explain what I mean here. So Boruto's internal conflict is wanting to save Konohamaru from dying, but the external conflict, it is multi-layered. He has Kashin Koji stopping him from going. He has Konohamaru facing someone who can kill him, and he has the specter of Jura looming, who Boruto knows will kill him, and it weighs on the morals that are on the heart of a very young and still to an extent naive Boruto. Is the life of Konohamaru worth the life of billions? Because that's what you're asking here if you're Boruto, where Jura killing you would be a near certainty that the entire world will end. It's going to be very interesting to see which decision Boruto makes, because that flying Raijin marker that Mitsuki has, it was not introduced as Mitsuki picking it up for no reason at all. At some point, that's going to come into play. This feels just like how when you get to the fourth Ninja War, if you pay attention to the subtle details, Naruto had Minato's flying Raijin marker at one point, and then as they're battling Madara, Naruto loses possession of it, and that in turn prevented Minato from being able to teleport into Kaguya's dimension. Everything like that is done for a reason. Small stuff that you wouldn't necessarily think about. So speaking of Mitsuki, that battle with Ryu, it is getting heated, and there is a lot of strategy going on in the battle based on the leaks that we have, and it isn't just from the shinobi either. It's also Ryu, which backs up something that we said here on the channel months ago, which is that Ryu might mess around and be the second most dangerous of the Shinju, being surpassed only by Jura in terms of how dangerous he is. What Ryu does in this chapter, it is impressive, especially with some of the raw scans I saw. And when you consider that he is the youngest out of all the Shinju, yet he is extremely methodical here, it gets even more impressive. There were 0 wasted movements in this battle, which makes his opponents a worthy matchup because Sarada and Mitsuki are very observant. So Ryu is studying Araya's iron sand blade that he's using, that lodestone blade, which is nullifying his magnet release jutsu that he is using. And when Ryu tries to break his body apart into sand, think of it how like Gar uses sand clones, the guy is being forced to reassemble due to the effects of the blade, which levels the playing field for Sarada and Mitsuki. And Sarada and Mitsuki, they're clocking Ryu's attack patterns and they're adjusting in real time in the chapter, with Mitsuki jumping straight into Sage mode to try and fight him off, which is a sign of Ryu's power, that Mitsuki's going straight into Sage mode, full power as they're fighting. You got iron sand being thrown around in multiple instances. You got Mitsuki trying to use Sage mode snakes to control Ryu's movements, as in trying to position himself so that certain positions make it easier to attack him. You got Mitsuki trying to bind Ryu with this Sage mode snakes so he can hold him in place so people can hit. You got Sarada using a combination of fire release and lightning release on Ryu. In particular, his iron sand is being hit by Chidori attacks, which that makes sense when you think about it, because you're going to have to go back to the anime version of the versus Momoshiki arc, which gave us a lot of fights that never happened in the manga, to understand why Sarada is so dead set on using lightning release here. So in the anime, one of the weaknesses that we saw to the iron sand variation of magnet release is that lightning release is very effective against it. They pulled off some impressive stuff that showed the weaknesses of the iron sand when they fought against Shinki in the anime version. So for instance, Mitsuki was able to use the lightning release to directly dispel the iron sand cloak that Shinki was wearing, though it eventually reformed a few seconds later. That was enough time to make the main body open for attack. Mitsuki just couldn't take advantage of it. Sarada and Boruto were both able to use lightning release against the iron sand, as well, to varying degrees of effectiveness, with Boruto very impressively being able to produce cracks in the iron sand using his own lightning release, which, is a reminder, this was before he used the purple lightning jutsu capsule that's in the shinobi gauntlet to outright shatter the iron sand and destroy the iron sand armor that Shinki was wearing. Prior to that, Boruto's own jutsu, his lightning release jutsu, was cracking the iron sand, something people don't give Boruto credit for. But Boruto's strength was about to give out, which is why he resorted to using the capsule though. However, alternatively, one way you can view that scene is that had Boruto fully embraced the shinobi ideology at that point to push past his limits, then he could have broken through the iron sand if he had the guts to never give up, since he was already cracking the iron sand on his own. But he took the low-hanging fruit to cheat, because at that point in time, Boruto did not know what it meant to be a shinobi. Just throwing that out there, because based on what I've seen, you got people getting pissed off that Sarada's once again using Chidori in a fight and using it against Ryu, but never mind the fact that it's one of her signature jutsu, just as Rasengan was a signature jutsu for Naruto. But obviously Naruto had other tactics, etc., the way he would deploy Rasengans and whatnot. Still a staple jutsu. I'm pretty sure the anime made a joke like Asuma or somebody was like, just let Naruto go on the front lines and pummel whoever's in front of them, Rasengan, etc. I want to say that was like the Guardians arc or filler arc that took place with that fake Jinchuriki Sora. Like, it's much ado about nothing in my opinion. This whole thing with Sarada, it's a signature jutsu, she's gonna use it. Just as Fireball Jutsu is a staple of Lucia and etc. I view this as much ado about nothing, but everybody's super pissy and there's a lot of cherry picking going on of, oh my gosh, she's using Chidori again. Oh my gosh, she's using fireball jutsu. All she's doing is using Chidori and Chidori variants. There's a strategic advantage in trying to use it against Ryu, which it should be worth noting. In one of the sequences, Sarada's Chidori gets blocked by Ryu's Iron Sand, but she isn't able to land a clean enough hit on it in order to take advantage of the advantage that Chidori gives her over that Iron Sand. That's the whole purpose of teamwork and what it is they're trying to accomplish. But this is only Sarada with her basic 3-tomo Sharingan. So as this fight is progressing, it's going to get very interesting to see what the crescendo for this whole thing will be as we build towards the climax itself. Now, Ryu, on the other hand, he starts countering by deploying all these claw grinds to start attacking in numbers against Sarada and Mitsuki, while also sucking Yodo into the fight, which ends up nearly getting her bitten. But this is where the strategy element comes into play. The whole reason for it was Ryu was setting up a trap to get rid of the sword that Araya was using that kept Ryu from being able to use his Iron Sand in a way that maximized its effectiveness, which I love that. It is the classic move hidden behind the move that we're used to seeing in the Naruto franchise. But again, the way that Boruto does fights, it doesn't have the characters suddenly stop mid-action and explain to you step by step what it is that they did, like you saw in early Naruto, because as a sequel to the Naruto franchise, it is expecting the reader to already be conditioned to see such things happening in real time and connect the dots themselves. Bold decision, because I would argue that you might need to start breaking down and explaining stuff for people, because otherwise it does go over some people's heads. Now, I also want to say it is a bold decision here to have Ryu focusing on trying to remove the sword from under these circumstances, because the sword was introduced as a way to level the playing field. That's effective writing, in my opinion, in the sense that it does raise the stakes, because it makes you ask yourself, how are they going to get past Ryu now that the sword is out of the picture? And we clearly see that the numbers advantage strategy, it is working for Ryu, because by deploying the claw grinds, he's using them as a smokescreen. Allow me to explain what I mean here. Again, the story's not breaking it down step by step for you. It's making you connect all the dots, which, given that this is a monthly manga and given that Ikimoto likes to draw fights in a Dragon Ball fashion, you want faster pace so you don't have time to have steps broken down step by step, because it takes away the flow of the battle. But basically, Araya had to save Yodo, who was being overwhelmed. And for Sarada and Mitsuki, even though the claw grinds themselves are not as strong as Ryu, and they were able to do some pretty impressive stuff in terms of staying relative to Ryu while the fight was going on, they are dangerous in the sense that these claw grinds have a much lower win condition than Sarada and Mitsuki, and that has to be taken into account here. So whereas Sarada and Mitsuki have to outright destroy the claw grinds, which is going to cost extended energy due to there being so many of them, the claw grinds literally only need one bite and they have a secure win condition. Think of it like how you're trying to fight Sasori when you think about it. So if Sasori's puppets are able to even scratch you, the poison gets into your body and it begins to start slowly killing you. And the claw grinds, if they manage to bite you, then you get turned into a tree. You're sealed away in the tree, and there's no saving you unless someone destroys the Shinju that is made up of your chakra and then returns your Thorn Soul bulb to the tree that you're sealed in. That's a lot of work in order to overcome that win condition and reverse it, basically. That sword is their best hope, and by having Ryu be so dead set on taking it out of the picture, it means that you're forcing Boruto to either come to the battlefield, or you're setting up another subversion of expectations with a character that the story is forcing us to overlook. Is setting up for a classic rug pull when you think about it. Now, there's more to the chapter that occurs, but as I said in the intro, with text spoilers, I wait for the full context before weighing in all the way. Though as of this recording, I have seen some raw images, but not the entire chapter itself. So there is some stuff I do want to wait for full context on that will be addressed in the review. The chapter comes out in 2 days on the 19th, and if we get the chapter raw scans in full tonight, all 40 pages, I'll be able to have the review for you guys on the day that it drops. If not, then it'll be 1 to 2 days after the official release, because the chapter review editor, again, needs the time to cook up the reviews so you get the consistent quality that we've been getting on the 18 reviews of Two Blue Vortex that we have, which in the meantime, obviously consider subscribing if you haven't already and clicking over here to watch this Naruto Explained video, or check out my new solo leveling video from Anime Explained, where I discuss non-Naruto content in the form of video essays, explained videos, chapter reviews, and so much more.